Hi, Guy.
Hi,
Thank you for joining us.
you're welcome.
Maybe just as a start, why don't you tell us about what you're doing?
Okay, so Caja, by the way, the name of Caja is, the meaning in Spanish is a box. In Hebrew, it's some kind of a slang. Very difficult to explain what is Caja in Hebrew. So, that's the way it is, but anyhow, so we are robotizing spaces. Basically, what we are doing, we can take any warehouse and convert it, robotize it in very easy and very quick way to become a warehouse that work with robots. We are focusing on the e-commerce industry, and we can do that because we know how to utilize existing infrastructure. So when we say existing infrastructure, it means it starts from the floor. We can pretty tolerant to any kind of a floor. Customer can keep using its own regular shelving. You don't need any unique infrastructure. It can use its own regular boxes. And on top of that, we have our robots. You will see it in a moment, two kinds of robot. Actually, it's cloud-based robot that connect to the cloud. You don't need to install any in-premises server. So basically, these two main elements give the customer really full flexibility, full scalability. They can grow dramatically. They can shrink, move between warehouses. Everything very, very easy.
Well, you're an Israeli startup, relatively early, and you're targeting the e-commerce market, which is one of the largest markets on a global scale. How do you plan to compete over against other competitors over these huge customers?
Okay, so currently in the market, relatively, there are not a lot of robotics companies. And this market is really, really huge. We are talking here about trillions of dollars. In average, e-commerce retailers spend between 10% to 15% from their gross sales only on fulfillment, and around 80% of that is based on labor cost. So in terms of that, the potential is huge.
We'll see it in a minute.
Okay. And if you compare it to pure software companies that can work from Israel globally, what we can see that it's not only that you need, you can do it remotely, but you need in premises, so you need, it requires from you support and service and a lot of other stuff that, that's why not a lot of robotic company enter to this area. So in terms of, we're talking here about hundreds of billions of dollars that currently in the market, only around 10 companies in average, startup companies that you can find in this area. And this market grows around 25-30% a year. So in terms of potential, don't see any limitation.
What is your competitive advantage? There are so many robotics companies, especially coming out of China. Israel is not really known for its hardware expertise. So how do you plan to compete? What is your competitive edge? And how do you see yourself winning over the market?
Okay, so currently, all the current companies that are currently in the market, all of them, I think we are the only company that come to the customer and say to them, okay, you don't need to change anything in your warehouse. You just take your warehouse, convert in very easy way. All the rest of the companies, including the Amazon solution, require to unique infrastructure. That means in terms of investment of the customer, they need around 50% of their investment in the robotic solution come from only for, most of them for metal. For unique shelving, you need boxes, things like that. So in our solution, very easy. Amazon, for example, is not really competitor because they acquired a company called Kiva System in 2012, around $800 million. So they're not really competitor. They're strict for the market. They use their own solution, but we can find in the market around 5 to 6 copycat of Amazon solution. By the way, none of them is entering to the US market. They're afraid of IP issues. So we have a huge advantage in that in terms of investment for the customer, in terms of risk management, to adapt our system is very low.
I think
and regarding the main difference between our solution and the rest of the system, Amazon, we are going 2 times higher than Amazon solution. We are running 4 times faster. Our robots run 4 times faster because we really use unique algorithm in terms of navigation. And again, you don't need to invest in unique infrastructure.
So I want to touch on that. So Amazon has its own solution, which they've been using and it's been working for them. So why would they need to innovate? And if they do need to innovate, looking at Caja, I think one of the most obvious advantages is not in the hardware actually, but it actually in the software that runs in the back of it, or the brain of the system. And I think it's a good opportunity to kind of explain how that works and why others don't have the ability to do that just as good.
So we have a very unique algorithm the way we navigate our robots. Most of the robotic system currently give a lot of power to the robots. They're autonomous robots. They are running, they get the path and the destination, and they drive. They're trying to do their best. They're driving pretty slow in order to look for collision. We have a very unique algorithm. We call it 4D navigation, where we navigate by time. So if now we have a task for the next 3 or 4 hours, for each second we have in advance a map with the exact position of each robot. So basically the robot we don't not just send the robot the path you need to drive, but actually exact instruction how to drive. For example, for the next 10-meter drive 1 meter per second, then stop for 5 seconds, and then continue another 20 meter with 2 meters per second. So basically when our robot go out from island and stop there for 5 seconds, he basically stopped not because his sensor told him to stop, because everything is pretty planned. In that way we can drive 4 times faster than Amazon solution, and optimization is really endless with that, what you can achieve. In terms of simulation, we can simulate in very accurate way, and this is exactly what we did with our customer, and that's why they chosen our solution, because we can simulate the system in advance, how the warehouse will look like, and how in terms of resolution, a few seconds. We know from the moment we get in order, in tolerance of 5 seconds, when it will be ready to be shipped. So it's very important to them. So again, yes, the main asset is basically on the software.
I'd like maybe for you to show how it works. I think it's a great way to understand what you guys are exactly doing.
So you see here we're using a regular shelving. You can use any kind of a box. You can use plastic box, carton boxes, any standard boxes that currently in the market. By the way, you cannot find the market currently a system that can support carton boxes and plastic boxes. I think there is another video there, like from a real warehouse you can find there. And again, maybe we can run it again. You can see there are 2 kinds of robot. We have the big robot. The big robot is running, currently you can run up to 3.5 meter high, 2 times better than manual picking. By the way, Amazon robots also can run only up to 1.8 meter high. And the small robot is very agile robot and fast robot that can drive beneath the shelving. And actually doing all the transportation. He have direct access only for the first row. And he's driving to the picking station and then back from the picking station to the inventory. So basically we're using the big robots for the optimization and the small robot using for transportation. In that way we can reduce the system cost dramatically, and in order to get a very good ROI on the system.
Thank you. So we saw an animation of the product, but it's actually working and implemented already in several customers. So why don't you tell us about where you are now in terms of the growth of the business? You're supporting a few customers already. One of them is a real leader in the industry, and I'm wondering if you can share what you see as the potential of that evolving, and what you need to do to scale this business and win the market.
So currently we installed in a company called Bergen Logistics, based in actually in New Jersey, just on the Hudson. It's a 3PL, third-party logistic, where they give a service for e-commerce retailer, mostly for same-day delivery into Manhattan. They have around 25,000 square meters of warehouses, half of this in New Jersey, the second half in LA. We're already running there with 5 robots. In 2 months, we'll run there with 20 robots. We are running around 2,500 square meter. We have an agreement with them with few thousand, dozens of millions of dollars for the next 4 years. In order to expand for all the rest of the warehouses, we signed additional contract with one of the first tier 3PL in the world. Actually, this 3PL is bigger than FedEx and UPS. I cannot reveal right now the name. First installation with him will be in September this year. And we define there as preferred supplier. It means that after we install our first project with them, actually it's in Finland, then we're going to expand for all the rest of their warehouses. We're talking here about potential of hundreds of millions of dollars only with this customer. And we have an additional distributor in Germany, an additional distributor in Singapore that's going to cover all Southeast Asia, also with commitment of sale for the next 3 years. So in terms of that, we're currently in position. We have more booking that we can, system that we can install. And actually, we cannot fulfill all of them, mostly because right now we are looking to, and we start to build all our infrastructure in order to be able to scale. It requires from us to build, just open our US site, infrastructure for support, service, maintenance, of course, sales in the States. So our focus is to go in the States. We are doing everything direct, and all the rest of the world we are going to work, and we're already working with distributors.
So you've raised previous rounds, and you have some significant angel investors or prominent angel investors around you, like Gigi Levy, and obviously we invested, and now we're gearing up towards the next round. What would this next round? Where would it get you, or what is it needed for?
Okay, so next round will be going to be a significant amount of money, again, in order to build the right infrastructure. So in around a year and a half from now, we can really scale up. It will take us for the next 2 years, at least for the next 2 years. We're talking here about in 5 years, all the time the question regarding the next few years. So in terms of 5 years, we are talking of a minimum of $150 million. This is only with our current existing agreement that we have. And later on, and by the way, this is without the Chinese market. We will be ready. We will feel that we'll be ready to get to the Chinese market around a year and a half, 2 years from now. But in order to do that, we need to find the right partner. It's not easy to enter to especially in robotics, to the Chinese market. So again, I think after we'll finish this round. Currently, we're working with that also with iAngels. I think that in 2 years from now, a year and a half from now, we'll be ready to really scale up really globally.
Thank you very much. We'll take some questions from the audience.
Thank you very much. I'm a consumer of 7 3PLs in the US. Thank you. I'm in home furnishing soft goods. I'm very curious to know how your offering deals with different types of products, specifically around e-com.
Okay, so basically, if we are talking about fashion, by the way, Bergen Logistics is a pure fashion. They're dealing only with fashion products, shirt, dress, jewelry is also with shoes. So basically, everything that we have a minimum size of box and we have maximum size of box. So basically everything that enter inside, and we're bringing the boxes to the picking station, and from the picking station, go out. So basically everything that enter inside the box, we can deal with that.
Okay, so with specifically around e-com, the way our 3PLs work today, they go down the aisles, they pick the item because of specific individual items. If you order from Amazon, you'll order 1 of this and 3 of that. So they're picking the items out of the cartons, bringing it back to the packing station. They're packing it up and then shipping it out. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with the picking component?
Okay, so our robots, we are doing what you're talking about is what we call pick by item or pick by order. Mm-hmm. We are doing in different way. What we call it goods, what we call goods to man. So basically, we bring the box. And the box, we pick from the box, and then box return back to the inventory area. So in terms of software and algorithm and optimization, We are trying to bring the box and pick as much as possible to a lot of orders. So in that way, we can save a lot of transaction. So part of our algorithm is to recognize spikes and high runner products, and next time we bring the box or return the box, we'll not return it to specific place. You know, we have algorithm will recognize high runner products only when the spike starts. People who bought this also bought this. Will move the boxes very close to each other. So every time we do a little bit of optimization, then we can save a lot of transaction of robots. Less robots, you have a better ROI for your system. So part of that is driven by our software.
So the solution actually does warehouse optimization through WMS?
Yes, we integrate our software to the customer WMS. This process can take between 2 weeks to 6 weeks, and that's it. Everything driven by the WMS, by the way, warehouse management system.
Thank you.
They send us the orders, they send us the new inventory, and for them it's a black box. We are committed for a certain amount of throughput, and that's it. So basically the integration, you do one integration. That's why to work with a huge customer, you do one-time integration, one time you invest in project management, and then the customer in e-commerce grow 20%, 30% a year. So basically you grow with them organically. We just send them more robots instead of employees, and that's it.
How do you deal with maintenance and SLAs?
We have an SLA like standard in the industry. We are coming every quarter to do maintenance. We need how many errors you can, how many shutdown in specific errors. It really depends on each customer, but really standard.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I want to touch upon. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Why you're limiting the solution just for e-commerce and not for physical stores? That's one question. And the other one regarding the metrics, if you can elaborate a bit, and what will be the size of the next round?
Okay, the next one will be somewhere around $10 million. And regarding other application, we think, I can tell you we have been approached even by Google because they want existing solution to their farm server, okay? And we are talking here about cannabis. I've been approached like, let's say every 2 weeks by the cannabis industry in order to use our robots there. In terms of potential, we're talking a huge potential, but I think the market is currently, it's huge, and the opportunity is huge and must be focused right now. I assume that in 2-3 years from now, we also do maybe some spin-off for specific other application, but currently there is enough for us in the e-commerce industry.
I wanted to touch upon what you mentioned before, replacing employees by robots. Does that actually happen, or how does it actually affect? How does the implementation of technology and robots actually affect the life of the factory or the life of the warehouse and workforce?
Okay, so basically these companies again grow 20-30% a year. It's not, they will not fire even one employee. I can tell you that in Amazon, in average, they are walking around 18 kilometers per shift. Very difficult in terms of retention. They are paying around 40K per employee in United States. By the way, in Finland, it's already 65K euros per year per employee. We are talking about a robot in average around 20K. So we don't see any problem with that. They will not fire, of course, they will not fire anyone. You just recruit less. But as we see, like in every industrial revolution, you can see that at the beginning it starts, and later on people start to work. We are upgrading them to work with robots, to do the support, to do the maintenance, and eventually it's you cannot stop it.
So you basically expect them to walk less and to operate machines?
Yes, basically in our solution, they don't need to walk at all. They're standing in the picking station. So in that way, also in terms of we're building a very ergonomic
this is actually a live.
This is like it is
a live video.
Yep.
Cool.
And you're welcome to visit, of course.
How long are they offline when they're recharging? What's their schedule?
Okay, so the big robot can run around 8 hours before they're going to be charged, and the small robot around 5 to 6 hours. So in average, 10% of the time they will be in charging if they are working like 3 shifts. So if a customer wants to get the full capacity all the time, he will need to add additional 10% of robots in order to get the full capacity.
Yes, question, Shelly?
So we spoke about this last time we met, and I thought it was very interesting. I asked you, how do you compete with the Chinese? They have all this hardware and hardware abilities. And then you said something that was so striking to me, and you said that it's all about the software, and that everybody wants you because of the software, and the Chinese want you because of the software. And so I think it's interesting maybe for you to kind of give us a little bit of color around that and the real added value here.
Yes. We can see that currently in the market there are again 5 to 6 copycat of Amazon solution. By the way, it's a real copycat. And all of them, their software, they have a really huge problem in terms of software. Basically, what I mentioned before, everything that relate to optimization, everything to relate to fleet management. When it become more than 10 robots, it really to become very, very complicated. We've been reached with a few companies that doing from the Chinese market. All of them wanted to use our software in a SaaS model in order to what we call our unique 4D navigation. Again, I think that in 5-6 years from now, the robots will be, most of the industrial, you can find a lot of commodity robots. And basically, the company that will win and will take the market, and all of them probably will come from the Chinese market. And the company that will take it all will be the company that can bring a software that can be integrated into any kind of a software. By the way, again, we are the only company that use same system that can support any kind of robot. Currently, we have 2 robots, but if you want to throw to the warehouse more robots or more type of robot, you can do that. So we build it in advance in that way that our infrastructure can support any kind of robot. So because we understand that in 4 or 5 years from now, it at the end will be only about software.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Guy. It was a pleasure.